Ever notice how some men stay quiet, yet their silence says so much more than words ever could? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on those unspoken signals, the quiet cues that reveal what he's really feeling but never says out loud. That should grab attention fast. Have you ever wondered why some men effortlessly attract high value women, while others keep trying harder and harder, yet get ignored? It isn't because they're richer. It isn't because they're better looking. And it definitely isn't because they know the perfect pickup line. The truth is far more surprising. There are certain boundaries that silently communicate confidence, self-respect, and emotional strength. Women rarely talk about them, but they instinctively respond to them. Most men believe attraction comes from giving more attention, being more available, and constantly proving their worth. But what if those very habits are the reason attraction slowly disappears? Today, you're about to discover 6 powerful boundaries that instantly change the way high-value women see you. These aren't manipulative tricks or fake alpha tactics. They're subtle psychological shifts that make you appear calm, valuable, and unforgettable. And make sure you stay until the very end, because boundary number 6 is the one that completely changes the dynamic between you and a woman. Once you understand it, you'll never approach attraction the same way again. Let's begin with the first boundary, the one almost every man gets wrong. The first boundary is simple, but it's also the one that separates high-value men from everyone else. Your time belongs to you. That sounds obvious, yet most men completely abandon this principle the moment they're attracted to a woman. She sends a text, and they reply within seconds. She wants to meet, and suddenly every other plan gets canceled. She needs attention, and they happily put their own priorities on hold. At first, this feels like love. It feels like effort. It feels like you're showing her how much she matters. But psychologically, something very different is happening. Every time you make your entire world revolve around her, you quietly communicate that your life has very little happening without her. And when your time appears unlimited, your value often feels the same. High-value women aren't looking for a man who's available every second of the day. They're naturally drawn to a man who already has direction, purpose, and a meaningful life before she ever enters it. That's why truly confident men don't rush to answer every message. They don't drop everything just to prove they're interested. Not because they're playing games, but because they genuinely respect their own time. And here's the interesting part. When a woman realizes that your attention isn't given away so easily, she starts valuing it more. She feels that spending time with you is something earned, not something automatically guaranteed. That creates curiosity. Curiosity becomes attraction. And attraction keeps growing because she begins to wonder, what kind of life is he building that makes him so calm, so focused, and so difficult to distract? That quiet confidence speaks louder than endless texting ever could. Because a man with purpose never has to convince people of his value. His lifestyle does it for him. And once you've mastered this first boundary, the next one becomes even more powerful, because it's where most men accidentally give away their confidence without even realizing it. Now that you understand why protecting your time matters, let's talk about the second boundary, one that quietly reveals how much you truly respect yourself. Learn to say no without guilt. It sounds easy, but for most men, it's one of the hardest things to do. Why? Because deep down, they're afraid that one small no will make her lose interest. So instead of being honest, they over-explain, apologize repeatedly, or change their own plans just to avoid disappointing her. For a moment, that might keep the peace. But over time, it slowly destroys attraction. A confident man doesn't need permission to protect his priorities. If something doesn't fit his schedule, he simply says, "I can't make it tonight. Let's catch up another day." Clear. Respectful. Confident. No long excuses. No emotional speech. No guilt. Here's what most people never realize. Every unnecessary explanation sends a hidden message that you're seeking approval for your own decisions. And the moment you start asking for approval, you begin giving away your authority. High-value women notice this instantly. They're naturally drawn to men who trust their own judgment without feeling the need to justify every choice. That doesn't mean becoming cold or insensitive. It means respecting both her time and your own. Because when your words are calm and your decisions are firm, people stop questioning your confidence and start believing in it. The strongest boundaries are rarely loud. They're quiet. They're consistent. and they're impossible to ignore. But protecting your time and saying no with confidence isn't enough if you allow small moments of disrespect to slide, because that's where the third boundary changes everything. The first two boundaries taught you how to protect your time and stand by your decisions, but none of that matters if you allow people to slowly chip away at your self-respect. This is where the third boundary changes everything. Never ignore subtle disrespect. Most men think disrespect only happens during loud arguments or obvious insults. It doesn't. More often, it hides in the smallest moments. A sarcastic comment that crosses the line. A joke made at your expense in front of others. An eye roll when you're speaking. A dismissive tone that makes your opinion feel unimportant. These moments seem small, so most men laugh them off. They convince themselves it's not worth mentioning. They stay silent because they don't want to create tension. But every time you stay silent, you send a message not just to her, but to yourself, that your standards are negotiable. An attraction can never grow where self-respect is constantly being sacrificed. A grounded man doesn't react with anger. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't try to win an argument. Instead, he calmly addresses the behavior the moment it happens. A simple sentence like, "I don't appreciate being spoken to that way," is often more powerful than a 10-minute emotional conversation. Why? Because confidence doesn't need to be loud. It only needs to be clear. High-value women don't lose respect for a man who calmly defends his boundaries. They lose respect for the man who has no boundaries at all. When you communicate your standards with confidence and emotional control, something shifts. She begins to understand that being part of your life requires mutual respect. Not because you're demanding it, but because you naturally expect it. And people almost always treat you according to the standards you consistently uphold. But here's where most men fail the very next test. Because setting a boundary is one thing. Staying emotionally calm when that boundary is challenged is something entirely different. And that's exactly what the fourth boundary is all about. By now, you've learned how to protect your time, say no with confidence, and stand up for your self-respect. But here's the question. What happens when someone deliberately tests those boundaries? Because sooner or later, it will happen. And in that moment, your reaction will reveal far more than your words ever could. This is the fourth boundary. Stay calm instead of reacting emotionally. Many men believe attraction is built by saying the perfect thing. In reality, attraction is often built by how you respond under pressure. Sometimes a woman may tease you. She might challenge your opinion. She might make a playful remark just to see how emotionally stable you really are. Not because she wants to start a fight, but because, consciously or unconsciously, she's observing whether your confidence is real or simply an act. Unfortunately, this is where most men lose control. They become defensive. They rush to explain themselves. They argue to prove they're right. Or they shut down completely. The problem isn't the words they choose. The problem is that their emotions begin controlling their behavior. A high-value man is different. He doesn't feel the need to win every conversation. He doesn't panic when someone disagrees with him. He pauses. He smiles. He stays composed. Because true confidence doesn't disappear the moment someone challenges it. It becomes even more visible. And that's exactly what creates attraction. When a woman realizes that she can't shake your emotional center with a simple comment or playful test, something changes inside her. She begins to feel safe. She begins to trust your emotional strength. She starts seeing you as someone who can remain steady, even when life becomes unpredictable. That kind of emotional stability is incredibly rare. And rare qualities are naturally attractive. Remember this. Anyone can appear confident when everything is going their way. But the man who remains calm when he's challenged is the man people instinctively respect. Because emotional control isn't about hiding your feelings. It's about refusing to let your feelings control you. And once you've mastered emotional control, there's one final habit that quietly destroys a man's authority without him even realizing it. And that's exactly what the next boundary will reveal. You've protected your time. You've learned to say no without guilt. You've stood up for your self-respect. And you've mastered the ability to stay calm under pressure. Now comes one of the most overlooked boundaries of all. Stop explaining every decision you make. Most men don't even realize they're doing it. Whenever they make a choice, they immediately feel the need to justify it. They write long messages. They list every reason behind their decision. They apologize before they've even finished speaking. And without realizing it, They're asking for approval instead of simply expressing a choice. But here's the truth. Confidence doesn't over-explain. Confidence trusts that its decisions don't require a courtroom defense. Imagine two different responses. The first man says, "I'm really sorry, but I can't make it tonight. Work has been exhausting. I haven't been sleeping well. I still have a few things to finish, and I hope you're not upset with me." The second man simply says, "I can't make it tonight. Let's plan something later this week." Both men said the same thing, but they communicated two completely different mindsets. One is trying to be accepted. The other already accepts himself. And that's the difference people can feel even when they can't explain it. High-value women are naturally attracted to men whose words carry certainty. Not because those men speak more, but because they speak with intention. Every unnecessary explanation weakens the impact of your message. Every extra sentence creates doubt where confidence should exist. That doesn't mean becoming rude or emotionally distant. It means trusting that your decisions have value without constantly asking someone else to validate them. Sometimes the strongest statement is also the shortest one. Say what you mean what you say, and then allow silence to do the rest. Because silence backed by confidence is far more powerful than endless words backed by insecurity. And that leads us to the final boundary, the one that ties everything together. Once you understand it, you'll realize that attraction isn't about chasing a woman, it's about building a life so meaningful that she naturally wants to become part of it. Before you go, remember this. None of these boundaries are about controlling women. They're about mastering yourself. Because the moment you stop chasing validation, start protecting your time, speak with confidence, and build a life driven by purpose, attraction stops becoming something you fight for. It becomes something you naturally create. High-value women aren't looking for a perfect man. They're looking for a man who knows who he is, stands by his values, and refuses to compromise his self-respect for temporary approval. So ask yourself, which of these 6 boundaries do you need to strengthen the most? Let me know in the comments below. I read every one of them, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. If this video gave you a new perspective on confidence, relationships, and attraction, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next psychology-backed insight. And if you know someone who constantly struggles with confidence in dating or relationships, share this video with them. It might completely change the way they see themselves. Thank you for watching. Until next time, protect your peace, respect your boundaries, and remember, the strongest man in the room is rarely the loudest one. He's the one who knows his worth and never asks the world for permission to live by it.